Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To introduce myself, my name is Sofa Ali Mamuddin, is number 34, study program Diploma 3 Student of Marine Engineering, Shipbuilding Institute of Polytechnic, Surabaya. I will explain my final project, inspection of crack on PET A-frame genset using liquid penetrant test. Well, inspection is one of the inspection carried out to determine the result and the welding process carried out to find out any indication of damage to the pad A or welded joint. The pad A are lifting point made of plate and reinformed with infrared check plate for attacking the cycle. The force received by the pad A consists of the dead load of the structure to be lifted. This includes vertical and lateral force. The material used is ASTM 36 structural carbon steel plate. Carbon steel, carbon steel is a mixture of carbon and iron. Then some other elements are added. Liquid penetrant test is a non-detective test that aims to determine defects that occur on the surface of the test object. The defect that can be detected by the test are micro cracks. They are cracks that cannot be seen with the eye. From the test result must meet the exception requirements that have been whether is the standard ASME 5 AWS API ASTM. Next research question. Number 1. How to find out there are indications of crack in the PET A-frame generator using the penetrant test method. Number 2, how to find out the size of the crack during testing. Number 3, how to find out the welding defect that is in the generator frame. Research purpose. Number 1, to get the result of the indication of crack in the generator frame using the liquid penetrant test method. Number 2, to get the result of the crack size at the time of testing. And number 3, to get the result of welding defect at the time of testing. Result benefit. Number 1, grad student knowledge. Question about liquid penetrant test. Number 2, as a reference for companies in conducting liquid penetrant test. Number 3, comparison of the effectivity of using the liquid penetrant test method with other methods. Research elimination. Number 1, material used are only STM 36 carbon steel. Number 2, the test is only done on the pad A, not on the main connection. Number 3, testing is only carried out from welding result, SMAW, steel metal arc welding. The next, basic theory, definition of welding. Welding is a process of joining two or more metal to a form of connection using a hot process. Heat is needed to mill the metal part to be joined by electrodes as additive or filler. The quality of the welded joint will shape the quality of the welded joint. SMAW, sheet metal arc welding. They use an electric arc as a head source to metal. The amount of electric current for welding depends on the diameter and typing of welding electrodes. The voltage used is only 23 to 45 volt AC or DC. Will force welding a current of up to 500 ampere is required. However, in general, the 18 until 200 ampere range is used. Welding defect. Welding defect are welding results that do meet the exception required within the standard ASME AWS, API, and ASTM. The cause of welding defect can be due to introducing welding procedure, lack of preparation, and can also be caused by equipment and consumable that are not up to standard. Definition of steel material. Steel is type of material that is based on a mixture of the main element, named is together with the reagent form, namely carbon. Carbon steel has properties that depend on the carbon content. This affects the hardness of the steel. For example, hardness will increase. Carbon content will increase based on carbon content according to its composition. Carbon steel has several types, namely high carbon steel, medium carbon steel, and low carbon steel. Standardization. Indonesian national standard is a standard set by a technical agency after obtaining approval from the National Standardization Agency and application national in Indonesia in addition to national standardization. There is also standardization for Japan, which is usually abbreviated as or JES, Japan Industrial Standard, and from America such as ASTM or American Society for Testing Material, NIC, American Iron and Steel Institute, and from various other countries. The next, this is NTT, non-detecting test. The test that will be used is the NTT test with the liquid penetrant test method. The liquid penetrant test method is the simple NDT method. Through this method, the defect in the material will be seen more clearly. The trick is to apply a light chloride liquid to the surface being examined. The liquid must have good penetrant power and low viscosity in order to penetrate the defect on the surface of the material. Furthermore, the remaining penetrant on the surface of the material is removed. Defect will be clearly visible if the difference in the color of the penetrant test, the background is with contrast. After inspection, the remaining penetrant is cleaned by the developer application. Liquid penetrant test. Liquid penetrant test is a non-destructive test with aim detecting defects that occur on the surface of the test object. The test is usually carried out on the material after welding. This material testing method uses the capillary principle, where this capillary will later show the location of the discontinuity that occur. The defects that can be detected by this test are micro cracks. These are cracks that cannot be seen with the naked eye. Crack detection is this way independent of the size, shape, direction of the crack, material structure, or composition. Liquid penetrant can see into very small cracks. In general, the penetrant dyed that look red. The indication by its apparent direct contrast with the developer color background. The process does not require ultraviolet light, but requires surface well light to observation, although the sensitivity of the type of penetrant is not high at this type of penetrant. It is sufficient for various use. The next, pad A. Pad S is a lifting point made of plate and reinforced with check plate with a hole is a plate to connect with cycle. The four receiver by the pad A consists of the dead weight of the structure to be lifted. They include vertical and lateral force. To get the size of the area, you can use the equation. The stress that occur in the pad A of is calculation based on two areas. The first area is the stress on the extreme and the second area is the stress around the bore. The next research method, data research. The object used in the test is carbon steel material, which is used as the main structure on the PET frame generator. The press there, the research was carried out without Biro Klarifikasi Indonesia, Surabaya. It was carried out during on the job training. Literature studies. This is done by collection reference from various sources as journal, book, various final segment, and the internet to solve problems that occur in a study so that the testing result can be accurate. In this literature study, we study the non-statistic test of the liquid penetrant assay method. This is flowchart. The next tool and material is number one, test material, penetrant, cleaner, remover, developer, attendant like or if needed, cleaning tissue or like matter. Step of liquid penetrant test. Number one, after the initial cleaning, allow the surface of the material to be testing for at least 1 minute. This is done so that the clarity and the viscosity evaporates. Number two, penetrant application can be sprayed with the recommended spraying distance is 25 until 13 from the workspace. After the sufficient penetrant time is reached, the remaining penetrant on the surface of the test object must be cleaned with a cloth until all the remaining penetrant is gone. Developers should be sprayed until then an even layer is formed. The spraying distance of the developer to the workspace is at least 15 until 20 centimeters. Number four, observation of the indication form can be made during and after the application of the developer and will be seen there are indication. This is result schedule. The next, analyzing the result of liquid penetrant test. From the picture area F1, it can be seen that the test on the wheel joint did not crack. They were rounded indication with a shape of 1.5 millimeter based on the acceptance criteria of SME 5 part 6 standard. Defects are acceptable. All testing surfaces shall be free or relevant linear indication under 1.5 millimeter and relevant spacing indication under 5 millimeter. The next, from the picture area 2, it can be seen that the test on the weld joint did not pin crack. There were two round indications with a size of 3.17 millimeter and 2.5 millimeter respectively. The distance between indications was more than 1.5 millimeter. Based on the acceptance criteria of ASME 5 part 6, different are acceptable. All testing surfaces shall be free or relevant if linear indication 1.5 millimeter and relevant rounded indication under 5 millimeter. This is liquid penetrant test inspection report. From the picture area 3, it can be seen that after inspection with the penetrant test method on the surface of the weld joint surface, no crack on other indication were found. According to the standard acceptance criteria of ASME 5 part 6, all tested surface must be free or relevant linear indication under 1.5 millimeter and relevant rounded indication under 5 millimeter. Next, from the picture of area 4, it can be seen that after inspection with the penetrant test method, no crack or other indication were found on the surface of the weld joint. According to the certain criteria of ASME 5 standard part 6, all tested surface must be free or left relevant linear indication under 1.5 millimeter and relevant rounded indication under 5 millimeter. This liquid penetrant test inspection report, area 3 airport. The next test report, liquid penetrant. This is the result of inspection. Solution. Number 1. The result of the examination of the well joint did not find any crack or linear indication, but rounded indication were found in area 1 and 2. Round indication were found but met the acceptance criteria for ASME 5 section 6 standard. In area 3 and 4, no defect were found of the defect occurrence. So the result is testing area 1 to 5 were accepted and the indication effect did not have a negative impact. This number 2. In the well joined area 1, found rounded indication with a size of under 1.5 millimeter and area 2 found rounded indication with a size 3.17 millimeter and 2.5 millimeter distance between indication more than 1.5 millimeter based on the acceptance criteria of ASME 5 part 6 standard. Defects are acceptable. Number 3, the study was conducted to determine the type of defect that exists. Based on result of the entity liquid penetrant test, it was found that the type of porosity welded defect, namely the welding defect in the form of small hole in the welding metal, or welding metal can be on the surface or inside. Thank you for final project. Any question?